Hello everyone, very good morning to all of you. Today we are going to discuss the approach related to history optional. As this series is dedicated to the approach related to the means, most of the students are having problem how to deal with this subject, and especially in that world history. So we have decided to take a 5 topic from the syllabus, and we are going to discuss those topics. In that, the most important aspect of our discussion is related to the concept, and after the concept our approach is the application of that concept. Yes everyone, first important aspect is the concept. What exactly the concept of particular question and how this concept we are going to use in application. Means basically this application is none other than answer writing. Clear? So we have taken, yesterday we have taken the French Revolution topic and we took the previous year question from French Revolution topic. Today we are going to discuss about the one important topic related to world history, and that is unification of Germany. So here we are going to discuss in the same manner concept, application and how to write the answer. So before we start, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Harshvardhan Singh, and now we are going to discuss the question. The question, it was asked in 2017 for 20 marks. The question was, what determinant factors along with the diplomatic shaped the process of unification of Germany? So whenever you are going to read the question, I always emphasize on one thing. Reread the question, because questions are having answers. If you know the keywords in that, it is very easy for us to deal with the question. So if you go through this question, you will get to know the keywords, what determinant factors along with the diplomatic shaped the process of unification of Germany. So this question is related to unification of Germany, and they were talking about the factors. One factor they mentioned, that is diplomatic. Other factors we are going to discuss here. Clear? So from where this question exactly comes? So if you go through syllabus, this is the syllabus, and in that syllabus the topic is nation state system. In that, rise of nationalism in 19th century. Next, nationalism, state building in Germany and Italy. Disintegration of empires in the face of emergence of nationalities across the world. So this particular question is going to deal with this aspect. This particular question is going to deal with this aspect, that is the nationalism, state building in Germany and Italy. Clear? So what do you think? Unification of Germany was a sudden event? That yes, in 1870, Germany became a nation state? Yes everyone, what do you think? In 1870-71, Germany became a nation state. It was a sudden move. Was it the same case? Of course not. This process were there, and we have to consider that. Without understanding the concept, whole concept of unification, it is very difficult for us to understand the process of unification of Germany. The same process is applicable to the unification of Italy. All the factors played an important role in that. So here in the unification of Germany or in unification of Italy as well, quite similarities are there in both the process of unification, and with some variations as well. Clear? So in the unification of Germany, if you consider, Germany was not a state like right now. Right now the whole is a Germany. It was not the case. Germany was divided into more than 200 small states. More than 200 small states, Germany was divided. Why the area is called as Germany? Because they used to speak German as the language. The only common thread was between these more than 200 states were language. So, as you know that the first important aspect in the unification process everywhere in the world is a cultural moment, cultural pride, and the language is a common thread which can attach. Culture means poem, literature, music. These all create the awareness of oneness among the Germans. That is, Germans are basically from one area. Language is a common thread. Clear? So, first cultural integration was the part of it. That is the feeling of it. But the most important obstacle in this unification, that the presence of foreign power or the direct or indirect influence of foreign power over the German area. And remember, it was not an era of nationalism. The nation state, it is not based on the language. It was an era of imperialism. Empires were there, and in empire, divergent people, means basically different linguistic group or different ethnic group were living together under the empire, under the emperor, and that was a problem when this cultural integration was going on. At the same time, the forces of nationalism was also going on everywhere in the world, and the best example is of French Revolution, the French nationalism that played a very crucial role in that. Clear? And next, this division was there for a long time. The dominance of Austria and France, these were the two most important obstacles in the process of unification, and Austria was a powerful empire at that time. It is also known as Habsburg Empire. It is having influence over that. So, it was not possible for these states to become a nation state because of dominance of Austria. But one small state was there, and which latter played a most important role, and the name of that state was Prussia. Prussia, everyone know about the Bismarck. Bismarck is basically from this state. So, Prussia was one among the German state which played an important role in latter times. Clear? So, these states were present. Division of German speaking area into different small states were there, and the process of formation of unification is an important aspect of this question. What factors played an important role in this process? So, what factor I mentioned first? The cultural factor which create the awareness. The cultural factor which create awareness among the German speaking people that they are the part of one linguistic group. Clear? So, it was the first aspect of it. Now, what happened? You know, French Revolution, idea of liberty, equality, fraternity emerged from it. The offshoot of liberty is a nationalism, and Napoleon is a child of revolution, and Napoleon became emperor. He expanded his empire. Napoleon is well known in the history for many factors, and the most important factor along with his military expedition, that is his administrative reforms. He was in one sense he was a reformer as well, and as well as he was a emperor. So, when he expanded his empire, at that time he introduced so many changes in the administration of the respective state, and one of the best example is of unification process in Germany and Italy, that is unknowingly. It was not an intention of Napoleon to introduce the changes which is going to boost the nationalism or boost the process of unification, but he unknowingly did. What he did, he basically 200 states, he converted this 200 into 39 states for his administrative simplification, we can say that. It is better to handle 39 states as compared to 200 states. So, basically what he did, in one sense he united the state, reduce the number and make a kind of political unification. And you know that he is a strong supporter of equality and he ended the old structure there. So in one way Napoleon gave boost to this concept of nationalism, but there are twists also. After Napoleon, again the Metternich system was there. Metternich suppressed this idea of nationalism. And you know, nationalism, liberty, this concept, as I mentioned, offshoot of liberty is nationalism. Liberty means freedom. Freedom from whom? Foreigner. Who was a foreigner here at that time? Napoleon. Napoleon was foreigner. Okay. After overthrowing Napoleon, or after the end of Napoleon, what? Nation state. So this is the idea emerged. The political reconstruction, or we can consider the unification, was happened in latter phase. First it was a concept. Remember everyone, every idea first emerged as a concept, and this idea gets consolidated by the period of time. Socio-economic factors also added in that, and finally it comes into the form of concrete idea, and that idea becomes the reality in 1870-71. Clear? So after the Napoleon, the Metternich came, and Metternich reversed all the changes made by Napoleon. Metternich was a very conservative person. He reversed everything, and he tried to reverse everything except this. Why it is so, we are going to discuss in the classes, don't worry. So he didn't reverse that, but kind of political unification was there during the Metternich time as well. So now it is the case. Now Metternich system was a suppressive, repressive, conservative and all, but it was the same time, it was a period of industrialization. As the industrialization began in Britain, the industrialization grows everywhere. Yes, the industrialization first began in Britain, then in Belgium, and then it spread to other parts of Europe. And in the same way, in the period of 1820s, this wind of industrialization was flowing through the northern German area. Now the process of industrialization began in this particular area, and this industrialization became, or what we consider, this industrialization was carried away or given a strong support by the construction of railways. So this industrialization is also known as forces of coal and iron. The forces of coal and iron, it is a historical word given to the industrialization process in Germany. This forces of coal and iron played an important role. Earlier the agrarian based society was there. Agriculture was a main source of income. Yes, land revenue was a main source of income. But now what happened? New industries were there. In new industry, who played an important role? The bourgeois played an important role. These bourgeois played an important role, and now they realize if we want to give boost to the process of industrialization, there is a need of fast and rapid industrialization. Along with that, there is a need of economic integration. Am I right or wrong? Without economic integration, is it possible for us to grow the trade? For example, if there are number of taxes, means in one country there are so many taxes present everywhere, is it easy for us to have a trade? Or instead of that, one tax or less tax, one or less tax, means less than 10 to 3, whatever it may be, it's better? No, it is a complicated structure. It is not going to support the industrialization, it is not going to support the economic integration. But if the number of taxes are going to reduce, it is going to support the process, it hastens the process, and it happened at that time. So they realize one thing, Industrialization required strong support from various sectors. So development of banking sector was there, development of insurance sector was there. Along with that, one more important step and taken by the Prussia, the leader was Prussia, and that was known as Zollverein. Zollverein was a custom union and it began in 1880s and culminated into 1830s. So the economic unification of the area, though it is divided into 39 states, but still economic integration, custom union was formed, and that make the German speaking area economically sound. Clear? So these two aspects are clear to you. One, we have mentioned the cultural. Clear? Next aspect we mention about the economic unification, economic integration, Zollverein and all. As now, what we have mentioned, in this process of industrialization, bourgeois played an important role. So almost all of you are quite aware of the word bourgeois. Bourgeois were basically middle class, and who were they? Educated, businessmen, professor, and so on. They were having money, they want to upgrade themselves in the society. So when they got the opportunity, this opportunity grabbed by the bourgeois, and bourgeois were generally the part of lower rung of the society. Educated, okay, they were having money, still they don't have the status. So it was the best opportunity for them to become or to play an important role, and they played an important role in economic aspect. But at the same time, they were supporter of liberal ideas. Of course, because of the conservative idea, they were the part of lower rung of the society. Now they got the opportunity, and that opportunity they grabbed it, and they supported the idea of liberty, equality, fraternity. Even they supported the idea of constitutional monarchy. Clear? And the most important role played here, along with the liberals, that is students. Students were the torchbearer of new ideas. The concept, it was a concept only, nothing concrete. The process of unification in reality started after 1848, but these all already prepared the ground for it, a strong ground for unification of Germany. So the next important force played a role, that is the liberals. In the liberals, bourgeois and students. What role bourgeois played, I just want to explain here. As they want to raise the status in the society, but what was the current structure, the political structure, it was not supporting their ideas. So they were supporter of these new ideas of nationalism, liberty, equality and all, and they were having money. Because of the process of industrialization, they became more powerful, and they played an important role in influencing the policy. They pressurizing the current political structure to change the system. So because of their efforts, there are many states which introduced reforms, and these reforms were basically progressive in nature. These reforms were progressive in nature, and these bourgeois considered that British parliamentary system is ideal, and everybody considered, it is not them also, in worldwide we considered that British parliamentary system as ideal at that time. So they want the same kind of system should be prevailed in their country. So they were fighting for that. So the liberal base for formation of or the unification of Germany was prepared by the bourgeois. The next important role played by student. How? As we are going to discuss in later time, that is Metternich system, how Metternich system was a conservative, and Metternich was against this modern ideas. Metternich system suppressed everything, but students are those section of the society who always played an important role, always going to raise the voice against the injustice everywhere, and they are going to propagate the new ideas. That's why we call them as a torch bearer of the ideas. They pass on the idea. Clear? So these students, what they did, they propagate this idea, they spread the idea, of German nationalism among the people. German nationalism among the people. What exactly it is? What exactly it is? German nationalism. Do you really think so commoners are having the same feeling like these elite people? जहाँ पे भी दुनिया में आप कहीं पे भी देख लो, do you really think so the commoners are having interest in the concept of such nationalism and all? Initially not. And why it is so? Because in initial period, the most important aspect is food for poor. Clear? It doesn't matter for them. They are staying in a nation state, or they are staying in a part of emperor, under the emperor and all. They don't have any problem. So if you want them to be important part in the nation building process, so first you have to explain to them what nation state means, how this nation state is going to change their life. So this idea should be there, and student played an important role in propagating the idea of German nationalism among the common masses, and that mass awakening which was required, and student played an important role. So overall, bourgeois and student created a background, and this background is considered as a liberal forces. So this liberal forces became so strong in the era of 1848, and that resulted into formation or a drafting of the constitution, and that is known as Frankfurt Parliament. This Frankfurt Parliament in 1848, it was basically unification from below. Unification from below means unification from above and unification from below. These are the two separate processes. So unification from below means these different states, as I mentioned, they want to join each other and they are going to form one nation state, and that is Germany. Unification from below. So they supported this idea, and even they asked the German emperor to accept this offer as an emperor or as an emperor of New Germany. But it was opposed by the Bismarck, because Bismarck strongly believed that this unification from below is not a strong political identity. It is a confederation. What he wants? He wants strong Germany. But don't you think so? This is one way they created a platform from where Bismarck strongly supported his idea, and he played an important role in the unification of Germany. Don't you think so? Was it so easy to defeat Austria? Once upon a time it was a superpower. Was it so easy for a newly formed nation state to defeat France? Really? But it happened in near future. Right now we are going to discuss that as well. It happened. How it is possible for a newly formed nation state to defeat the mighty powers like Austria and France? It is possible because of strong economic base which was provided by forces of coal and iron. Clear? It was provided by the liberals, that is they arose the nationalism, and people strongly participated in the process of nationalism, the willingness of people to be part of German nation state. So they created the background, and from here, from this moment onward, Bismarck took the leap, and that leads to unification process. Clear? So these 3 points are clear: cultural, economic and liberals. Now we are going to discuss from 1848 how Bismarck played an important role. So we are basically discussing the concept and it is related to the question. So after discussing this concept, we are going to deal with the question. Clear? Yes, everyone? Okay. Now, as I mentioned, 1848. In 1848, proposal given to Prussian king to adopt constitutional monarchy and became constitutional head of Germany. So it was the case at that time. But here the one more important person, Bismarck. Bismarck completely rejected this idea. He said that it is not going to work, because if you really want to defeat a mighty power like Austria, this confederation is not going to work. That confederation should be strong, and he advocated the idea of Prussianization of Germany. Prussianization of Germany. He said that Prussia too played an important role in the unification process, and Prussia is going to add the different state, and once all the German states became the part of it, then it is a Germany. Strong, and Prussia was a strong among these states. So he advocated the policy known as unification from above, or unification from top, not unification from bottom. Clear? So now how he did that? So whether he adopted, everybody knew about the Bismarck's one very key word, and that is the policy also known, Bismarck's policy of blood and iron. That is, we considered Bismarck policy of war. Do you really think so that war was the only thing Bismarck adopted? Or there were other policies also he adopted, and that leads to unification. So now we are going to discuss that fact as well. So when we talked about the Bismarck realizes one thing: he was a diplomat, he was a real politiker, he believes in real polity. And real polity, you know that right now America followed the real polity. If you are having vested interest, then you are going to take part in that. If you don't have any vested interest, you are not going to entertain anyone. So he was having that idea, clear idea: if we want to defeat Austria and France, then one thing is important, and that thing is strong military. Without strong military, we cannot defeat them. So for that reason, he started strengthening military. So this is the one aspect, strengthening the army. Next he did, and that is very famous statement, that none of the great problems solved in the world through debate and discussion, it is only solved through the policy of blood and iron. That is, he was advocating the policy of war. So the next important aspect is policy of blood and iron. Blood and iron. At the same time, he followed the diplomacy as well. And why it was so possible, strengthening military, policy of war, Diplomacy, because in 1848 Prussia was a strong force as well as the German speaking area supported with the strong economic unification. Then nationalism was also there. Industrialization was also there. So this all created a ground, strong support, and that's why he started strengthening the military. He followed the policy of blood and iron. At the same time, he played a diplomatic role as well. It was so crucial, and the very best example of this diplomacy and policy of blood and iron we can see with the war with Denmark. (1864). Then we can see this diplomacy and war in the Battle of Sadowa. And the third, it is visible in the Battle of Sedan in 1870. This Battle of Sadowa is 1866, 64, 66 and 1870. How it is so? In Denmark, he took the support of Austria and defeated Denmark. In the Battle of Sadowa, he waged the war with Austria, but at the same time he made France as a neutral but took the help of Italy. Clear? And after the battle he don't want any enmity, so he made the peace treaty with Austria. So he made Austria a neutral for the upcoming war with the France. So in the Battle of Sedan, France was on one side and on other side Germany, because in 1866 North German Federation was formed. So Germany and Italy was there versus France, and Austria was neutral. So remember, only battles or war doesn't solve the problem. There are so many factors which played role in the unification process, and finally it is culminated into 1870-71. Is that the clear? The concept, I mentioned the concept because we started the concept from cultural movement and we ended with the unification of Germany, and so many factors played an important role. Clear? So if we want to sum up the things, then it is just like, first, the cultural movement played an important role. Then forces of coal and iron. Next important thing, liberals. The forces of coal and irons, in that we can mention about the industrialization. Then we mention about the economic integration, etc. Liberals, bourgeois and students, and the last thing, that is Bismarck. And Bismarck, the most important two, that is policy of blood and iron and diplomacy. Clear? Is that clear to you, everyone? Simple. Now, again we are going to shift to the question, and then we are going to discuss what should be the approach to write the answer. The concept is clear now. Now we are going to discuss the approach here. Okay, this is the question. Visible to you, everyone? Again, now we are going to reread the question. What determinant factors along with the diplomatic shaped the process of unification of Germany? Now, do you really think so? You are in a position to answer this question? Of course, yes, because diplomatic we already discussed. because the diplomatic role we already discussed, but as well as the along with the other factors. Along with other factors we already discussed. So what should be the approach? Any guess? Any guess how we are going to write the answer? Of course, very common sense. You are going to tell me, sir, first part should be introduction. Very good. Last lecture I mentioned that what should be the format to write the answer. I mentioned that please do not write the answer in point form in optional paper. In GS you may, but in optional be stick to the passages. Clear? So what should be the introduction? So first body part is basically how to deal with this answer, what should be the approach? Intro. Intro, yesterday only I mentioned, most of the student, or we can consider, it's my personal experience and all of my seniors also have the same experience. When we started the preparation for civil services, and after reading a particular topic, if anybody asks us to write the answer, we know that we can write, but the most important impediment in our path, that is introduction. How to write? How to write? Introduction is always a simple process. It is not a complicated thing. Because of this tension of introduction, so many students are not writing the answers. So don't do that. Write it. Maybe you may write in a wrong way. You may write in a what we can say okay way, or some of you may write in a good way. It's okay. The checker is going to tell you, okay, you haven't written good format, or you have written in good format, or there is a need for improvement. So but don't worry, just write in a simple word. If you don't know the extraordinary words, it's okay, just write in a simple. How you're going to introduce? As I mentioned, questions are answers. You get the answer here. So here already you have exact question, factors along with, determined factors along with diplomatic. So introduction should be like this. You can write in a simple word that unification of Germany was not an event, it was a process, and it started long ago in the 18th century. Several factors played an important role, such as a cultural, diplomatic, Napoleon and all. You can write that. They all played an important role in the process of unification. Clear? So it should be a normal introduction. Clear? Nothing nothing extra in that. Very simple introduction that is there. Now you are going to focus on the part 2. This is a main body of your answer. Main body. Because here you are going to write the factors. Here you are going to write the factors. So you are going to divide this factor part into the sub part. Which we already mentioned. Like you can talk about the cultural movement. Yes, everyone. You can write about the contribution of Napoleon in short. Clear? Then you can write the contribution of forces of coal and iron in detail. Then you are going to talk about the liberals. Then you can talk about the Bismarck. Simple, no? See, we already discussed the factor and you are going to explain that. That's it. Now, question is very direct in nature. What determinant factors? What these? Most of you are going to do this mistake that without writing the conclusion, you're going to end the answer. Don't do this thing. In optional paper, your answer should be properly concluded. Maybe the conclusion is there, or sometimes the way forward or elements of continuity is there. If the continuous process is there, then your last part should be elements of continuity or way forward. But if it is a complete thing, then you can conclude this. So without conclusion, your answer is incomplete. So part 3, the major part, these are the sub parts you are going to discuss. The part 3 should be conclusion. And plus here you can add the elements of continuity as well, with a very in brief, not in detail, how it is. So in conclusion, you are going to mention that with all these processes, Germany became a nation state. It played an important role after 1817 in the world politics, and Bismarck dominated the world from 1870 to 1894. And his diplomatic policy led to new type of system of alliance, and which culminated into the tension in the European continent. That should be your answer, because diplomacy is there and his diplomatic policy made the situation tense. Clear? That should be your conclusion. Yes, everyone? So, see, very simple. Any confusion? Simple answer. Part 1, introduction. Part 2, factors you have mentioned. Part 3, conclusion. That's it. Okay? So, that's all for this session. Thank you very much for your valuable time. See you soon.